Welcome to the After the Noise podcast. I'm Dr. Jen Bradley, licensed psychologist, and this is where we talk about everything your GLP-1 is changing besides the number on the scale. Today we're talking about something that happens in about 90 seconds, start to finish, and can wreck the rest of your day if you let it. Let's build a composite picture. A woman I'll call Renee. Down 40 pounds on tirzepatide, 8 months in, genuinely proud of the work she's done. She's scrolling one evening, phone propped on her chest, half watching, and a video comes across her feed. A woman similar age, similar starting point on paper, posing in good light, turning slowly to show off a body that looks effortless. Toned, smooth, confident in a way that reads as easy, like she just woke up that way. And Renee feels it. That fast drop in her stomach. The immediate involuntary inventory of her own body starting up before she's even consciously decided to compare herself to anything. This happens to women on GLP-1s constantly, and I want to be specific about why, because the specificity matters here. We're living through an explosion of GLP-1 content online. Transformation videos, before and afters, influencers whose entire platform is built around looking effortlessly, permanently transformed. And unlike a magazine cover from 20 years ago, this content feels close. It feels like it's coming from someone doing the same thing you're doing, which makes the comparison land differently. It doesn't feel like comparing yourself to an actress. It feels like comparing yourself to a peer who's somehow doing better. So let's talk about what's actually happening in that 90 seconds, and then let's talk about what to do with it. What's happening physiologically and psychologically is a comparison reflex. It's fast, it's mostly automatic, and it existed in you long before GLP-1s did. Your brain is wired to scan social information for where you stand relative to other people. That's ancient wiring. It kept our ancestors oriented in groups. What's changed is the input. You used to get that input from people around you in real life, in normal proportions, with normal context. Now you get it from a curated highlight reel, posed under good lighting, at the most flattering possible angle, from a stranger whose actual day you know nothing about. The reflex fires the same way it always did. The information it's reacting to is nothing like real life. This isn't a flaw in Renee, and it isn't a flaw in you if this happens to you too. It's a very old system responding to a very new kind of input it was never built to evaluate. So here's what I want to walk through with you using Renee as our anchor. Not 5 tips in a list. What this actually looks like in order, in that moment and just after it. First, the moment itself. Renee feels the drop. Her hand is already moving toward the mirror in the next room, or she's already pulling up her own camera to check her face against what she just saw. That urge. The urge to immediately go verify something about her body in response to what she just watched, is the moment to catch. Not to judge herself for having the urge, just to notice it happening before she acts on it. Second, the interruption. This is where distraction actually earns its place, and I want to be careful about how I frame that, because just distract yourself can sound dismissive, like I'm telling her to avoid her feelings. And that's not what I mean. I mean specifically interrupting the spiral before it builds momentum, the same way you'd step away from a conversation that was clearly about to go somewhere bad. Renee puts the phone down, calls her sister. Not to talk about the video, just to talk about anything else, to put her attention somewhere that isn't her own body for 5 minutes. That's not avoidance, that's triage. Third, once the acute spike has settled, and only once it's settled, not in the heat of the moment, This is where the deeper work happens. Renee asks herself what she was actually reacting to underneath the surface comparison. Sometimes it's straightforward body dissatisfaction. But often, when women actually sit with this question, something more specific surfaces. Maybe it's not really about the body in the video at all. Maybe it's exhaustion, because she's been running on empty for months and some part of her is reacting to a woman who looks like she has ease, has rest, has time, and Renee doesn't feel like she has any of those things right now. Maybe it's something closer to shame, an old belief that her body has always been a problem to solve, activated by a video that had nothing to do with her personally. The specific reaction matters because the response that helps is different depending on what's actually underneath it. Fourth, and this is where I want to spend real time because it's the piece that you often don't get tools for. Redirecting attention toward capability instead of aesthetics. And this isn't a platitude, it's an actual practice. Renee, in that moment or shortly after, names something specific her body did for her that week that had nothing to do with how it looked. She walked her dog 3 miles without stopping. She carried her granddaughter up a flight of stairs. She sat through a difficult meeting without her old fatigue pulling her under halfway through. This isn't positive thinking for its own sake. It's redirecting the same attention that was just scanning her body for flaws toward evidence of what that body can actually do. And fifth, once she's out of that spiral, there's a longer, quieter piece of work underneath all of this, and it's where real change happens over time, not in one evening. It's accepting something about aging itself. You are right now, at whatever age you are listening to this, essentially the youngest version of yourself you're going to be for the rest of your life. This is an invitation because it means every version of you going forward gets to build on what you have right now, rather than trying to reverse engineer a version of yourself that's behind you. The wrinkles, the changes in shape, the parts of your face that have shifted, those aren't evidence against you. They're evidence you've lived. A woman who has genuinely made peace with that isn't performing acceptance for an audience. She's just stopped fighting a war that she wasn't going to win because the terms of that war were rigged from the start. Renee didn't get to that fifth piece in one night, and you probably won't either. The first few times, the win is just noticing the urge before you act on it. Then it's interrupting the spiral instead of feeding it. The deeper acceptance work, the gratitude for what your body has carried you through, that builds slowly, with practice, the same way every other piece of this journey does. None of what I just described is about pretending the videos don't affect you, or forcing yourself to feel grateful when you don't. It's about having somewhere to go in that 90 seconds besides straight into the spiral. That's the whole skill. If this episode resonated, my Substack goes deeper into the psychology behind this, including a framework for holding acceptance and change at the same time without one canceling out the other. You can find it at drjenbradley.substack.com. And if you want a weekly next step delivered straight to your inbox, my newsletter is where I give you exactly that, one action at a time. Both links are in the show notes. I'm Dr. Jen Bradley. Until next time, take care of yourself the way you take care of someone you love.